We have several readings today for our simultaneous substance, supply, and activity retreat. Let's just take a moment to settle back into this fact of reality. One is already, always, eternally. That's what's only happening. And there's never been anything else happening. We just can't see that. So we don't need to make it true. We just learn to see aright that what's actually going on is God, as all, of all, in all. And there can be no division. There is nothing divided. There is nothing separate, and there is nothing separable. So let's immerse in this reading, and we're stepping it up again with our spirit storming. We'll take time. If anyone raises their hand, we'll get into some of the core pointings here, and we'll go deeper and deeper still. And let's not let that word be a misnomer. Higher and higher still. Deeper, higher. There's no right terminology here. I'm pretty sure you're all clear on that. So in this segment, we'll be reading from Marie Watts. In the fictitious world of mass illusion, remember, illusion is nothing. Illusion isn't real. It's not a real something to overcome. It's overcome in the recognition, acknowledgement of truth. There merely seems to be no genuine perception of the true nature of substance. Because we, under the spell of misidentification, value the valueless. We give our attention to what's arising as if it's something independent, as if it's something that has a life of its own, and it never can and never does. Those of us who perceive from the standpoint of the ultimate or the absolute or reality are aware of the fact that any appearance of what we might call density or solidity is not substance. However, it is not always easy for some of us to clearly perceive just what does comprise substance, and this is of key, critical importance. There is one substance that you might call the currency of life, the mechanics, the dynamics, the entirety of life, the one substance that appears as myriad things, shall we say, in myriad ways, is the one thing. Perhaps this speaks to you in a way that opens you up in utter wonder, delight, joy, and awe at the magnitude of reality. Most of us have said that God is substance, and this is a true statement. Nonetheless, our perception of the essence that is all substance will not be complete unless we know what God is as the substance of all form and the form of all substance. Once again, a reminder to rest back. As if you're being told a story, we know that parables bypass what we call the intellect. You're hearing a story here, like a bedtime story. Let that deeper capacity to hear and understand what we don't think we understand, but we do. So rest back with a softness, with a relaxed attitude. All is well. I can never be off. I can never be wrong. Omnipresence, omnipotence, and of course, omniscience is fact, is reality. I don't make the truth true, I accept it. Did you have to make maths? Or did you just learn it? So with that same ease, knowing you can, and of course you will. because you already are that. You're learning about what you are, and what you're not isn't actually involved, not even a little bit. What you think you are isn't required for the journey of self-revelation and self-discovery and living oneness. I can't get over how yummy that coffee is with that suggestion. Thank you. Our misapprehension of the true substance that is stems from the fact that we do not seem to correctly see the true essence in form that is the only substance. So long as we appear to be seeing solidity, density, or darkness, we simply are seeing through a glass darkly. It is as though a screen or curtain were interposed between our seeing of the genuine substance and the substance that is. Okay, we are going to pause here. There's several hands raised. Press back even more relaxed, even more deeply. You don't think you can see, but we're not interested in that thinking mind. Don't judge from appearances and don't take personal thought. You do actually already know, and in fact, only know as the one divine mind knows, as Christ knows. You do, in fact, know that one substance is the only fact and reality of life, and what that substance is so deeply, intimately, individually, what I call me and I, as one in God. You can know this already now. You can never extract this sense of I-ness from every experience you have ever had. We're just not interested in the detail, in the way of seeing that is habituated through misidentification. The way of living and knowing that is true vision, in perfection, wholeness, and completeness is deeper at this I that is indissolubly part of everything already. You can know this because omnipresence is what I is. It's not contained. Let omnipresence be omnipresent. Get out of yourself. Get out of the way, man, as we often reference Ted Lasso. We do love Roy Kent and we do love Rebecca. Who knew? Has that helped? So recognize this fact of being that does know. Don't get hung up and caught up with I don't know. Forget that character. That's like the frenemy in the camp that's holding you back. You don't need it. It will disappear entirely. The former things pass away is true. You will come to know this, as so many of you already have. We know that substance may appear to be liquids. These liquids may be deeply or darkly coloured, or they may be quite clear. Yet we believe that the liquid, as it appears to be, is substance. However, it is a little less difficult for us to perceive that substance is not what it appears to be when we are looking at the clear liquid that seems to be completely devoid of colour. Even so, we still are not really perceiving the true substance as it is when it appears to be liquid in nature. It's a good example here, so let's run with this. We think liquid is a substance of itself. We think that a rock is a substance of itself. Now let us consider the air or the atmosphere, the seemingly deluded vision of the nothingness called mass illusion cannot see the air. Yet any physicist will tell us that the air is substance. This is just basic chemistry, isn't it? liquid, gas, solid. As we've stated before, the physicists report, that the air consists of atomic structures. And of course, a structure is a form. It doesn't really matter whether we think we can see it or not. The capacity of what you be, of what I is far from limited to the senses that we call human. And we rely on these senses that really report a corrupted vision, and we think it's quite extensive. We think our senses have a pretty good handle on things. If I can see it, I believe it, as we know, is pretty much the set point for those in the mass illusion. So can you see the atomic structures in the air? And they're just as here, present, and real, shall we say. Form necessitates a substance to be in form. So we can perceive that, even according to the so-called human misconception of things, there is substance in form that is not visible to the so-called human vision. Even so, the genuine substance that constitutes the air is not the kind of substance that it appears to be to the physicists. Yeah, I'll just read these next couple of sentences and then we'll pause. Yet they are coming ever closer to the true perception of the substance that is. If we can accept the fact that the genuine air is substance in form, it will be easier for us to perceive the indivisible and, shall we say, invisible nature of all substance. All substance is inseparable, even though it is manifested in an as form. We are going to get into a little bit of science here. And of course, when we have question and answer, I can see so many of you making notes. We can get into this more deeply. We have hours left today. I'll be here for as long as you want to be here. What we can know is that absolutely everything that we are aware of exists in a container of something. But science is quite stymied. This is where we're getting into the area that is the substance, that is consciousness, because you cannot dissect the thing that you are. So even the smallest particles, and even those who think that energy is the currency of life, are mistaken, because if you can be aware of it, what allows you to be aware of it? What's behind that? That question that led me so deep I never even imagined I would end there. But what's the container that is the very omnipresent substance that allows us to even observe the smallest structure, form, substance? There is a thread. Sometimes I think that some physicists refer to this as the field, but they might dip their toe in briefly and then bounce back into the realm of form as form, and are perpetually often mistaken here. So yes, we're getting back to what you can realize is reality, is omnipresence, is yourself, the one self, the container. The distinction between awareness and everything that is arising in awareness. Even a quark exists because I do, because God does. It is when substance appears to be dense or solid that it gives the false impression of separateness. For instance, let us consider the substance that constitutes the body. Because it seems to be solid, dense matter, it appears to be locked inside a covering called the skin or the flesh. Nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, some of you know, probably all of you know, that the thing that really amped up the what's behind that was when I did a stint in emergency treatment. If you go to an emergency room because you've had a mighty accident or you're hanging on by a thread, you will have patches put on your skin. Because what doctors know is that the absorption rate of necessary ingredients is quickest through the skin. Isn't that interesting? This thing that looks like it's so solid. The skin we know is the largest organ, but it's not a closed system. So what contains you? This is just the basic lie that we fall for. I'm contained in a body that is just porous. It's more porous than my fly screen. Isn't that interesting? The substance that is the body is absolutely unconfined and unconfinable. It is true that this substance is not what it appears to be, but it is also true that what is called the skin or the flesh of the body is not what it appears to be either. That which is called the covering of the body cannot confine the substance that is the body. Neither can it exclude the universal, ever-moving substance from being the substance that is the ever-active body and its forever perfect, orderly activity. I can see some ahas going on here. Why don't we just take a moment to pause? Omnipresence trumps everything we think we see. How are we relying on what our senses are reporting? Because you're told, judge not from appearances, take no thought. This is the fact. Only consciousness is evidence, and nothing else is. Beloved, so much of what seems to be bodily difficulty stems from the illusion that the body is a separate substance, different from or other than the universal all substance and activity. Simultaneous substance, supply, and activity. Remember the theme of our retreat today. Once we are fully aware of the omniactive, indivisible substance that is the body, we do not even seem to have any bodily difficulty. How can we? The indivisibility that is true of and as this body is true of all substance in form. The body of the Earth planet is not a separate substance confined within the so-called outer layer of the Earth's surface. There is not one star, planet, or galaxy that is separate form or other than the universal, omniactive, all substance. The structure that is called tree, rose, or whatever consists of this same inseparable, universal, ever-active, indivisible substance. That I might add, and I think this is probably going to answer your question, Jeff, this one substance is all, as all. We can withdraw every label and name, just as A Course in Miracles invited us to do, and it's in all of its lessons really, withdraw the meaning that you've given so that true meaning can be revealed. Okay, we'll get into that later then. Although the universal substance does exist in and as innumerable forms of itself, it always remains the same substance. Wondrous, isn't it? All praise be to God. The wonder of the light is extraordinary. And the point that I'd like to make here is that this substance is all of itself omnipresently. It's never lacking. It's never becoming. It is whole and complete at every point of itself. There is never anything missing. I know that we talked about this the other day, but perhaps you can really sense in some inexplicable way how life is simply pouring itself out. That now really is the best word to describe what I am. Just recently, an article written by a well-known physicist stated that the cells of the body and the cells of a tree were essentially the same substance. Just like we know the early physicists were just floored and shocked by their findings. They're still too difficult to come to terms with for the very vast majority, even today. It can't be true. It can't be true that there's only one thing going on, and yet it is. I think this really speaks to that perennial question, the perennial problem of accepting the truth as it is. The way that we come at reality in this conversation about awakening needs to change dramatically, because we don't hear people getting around every day saying, I just don't believe math. I don't believe the principle. I just don't believe it. So I will defy it and I will deny it. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Yeah. Here again is evidence of the fact that even with those who deal in what they call matter, there is a glimmer of what actually is. In fact, there simply is no separate or separable substance. Just now, I'm looking at the draperies hanging so gracefully at the window. I'm also seeing the valance above them and the walls and the ceiling, yet I can see no separation of the substance of the draperies, the valance and the walls and the ceiling. They are all the one perfect, indivisible substance, and persisting in single-minded commandment number one, obviously with the additional rules that we like to remind you about, judging not from appearances and taking no thought, this infinite omniscience that I is takes charge. This is where we sit, and this is where we live, and this is how we see, and of course, what we see. It happens quite organically. You don't have to worry about that. Remember, you have a small role, specific, precise, but small. You don't make the truth true, you just buy it and sell it not. Incidentally, there is substance in form present wherever we may be focused at the moment, but we do not seem to see this substance in form when we appear to be seeing through a screen of illusion. When we're actually seeing as illumined consciousness, we do see this indivisible substance in form. We do. Many of us report it as light. But you know, like you know, like you know, and it makes how persons seem to see really look silly. And it can never trick you again. You just get on with living truthful being. This substance in form is nothing at all like that which the spiritualists imagine they see. This is obviously a term for those who are in the pseudo conversations, person and spirit, humanity and something. Those living in the and have all sorts of strange ways of trying to make sense of what's going on. Also, please do not try to see these forms. That's not your job. That's you trying to make the truth true. That's not your job. Of course, I know a lot of the questions that will come during the Q&A will be focused on this, and that's fine. We're here to settle into truth. You're all here declaring, I accept that the truth is true of what it is that I am. These are just the little ways that we continue to trick ourselves, and we are here to speed that up, get over all of the thresholds. It would only be confusing if you do try. As your consciousness continues to be increasingly illumined, you will see all that is here, and it will be perfectly natural and normal, because true wisdom and understanding is your inheritance. Get the understanding, and that's your inheritance, and then you live your inheritance. There is nothing supernatural, even mystical, about this illumined seeing. Just let it come as it will. In this way, you'll be ready to understand it when it does take place as your experience. And here is a really important point. Preparation is essential. Nothing unexpected can ever happen. You experience your consciousness. What do you accept? Do you think it's possible that you could check your bank account balance today and there'll be $5 billion in there? There could, but do you believe that's possible? Even as there are structures in and as the air that we don't seem to be able to see, so it is that there is substance in form everywhere that we do not appear to see. I realize that that was a funny example because some of you probably do have $5 billion in your bank account. So let's see if we can put it another way. Okay, where did you get that emoji from? Oh, the funny one. That's good. I love it. I'll see it because I believe it, rather than he goes, I'll believe it when I see it. Limitless, infinite, whole, complete consciousness. You have dominion, beloved. There's nothing off limits here. Absolutely nothing off limits. There's nothing personal. I get to live what I am. Infinite, whole, complete perfection. If it's a divine idea, it is yours to know tangibly. And perfection is the baseline. Perfect, whole and complete. And I know we've had some really fabulous stories just this last week. And before the end of today, there'll be even more. What are you saying there? There's one now. Relationship. Oh, this is how the miracle happens. It comes in preparation, in emptiness to receive. And so long held grievances that perhaps we'd forgotten about or we didn't even know existed simply disappear. And what is left is nothing but love. And not only that, as you've just pointed out, Myra, you can't even remember what the upset was. Just this image that's come to mind that is just light and love. Yes, of course. You can get in contact with anyone, but we're not denying the isness of infinity. What we are here to establish is that we don't see clearly what's actually going on. And when we do, it's astonishing that the level of love, the kind of love is I was going to say pervasive, but it's really omnipresent fact and reality. Yes, that consuming love that just reveals itself. We dearly and desperately need to want to get out of the way of what is. Because simultaneous, I'm going to add another word here, perfect substance, supply, and activity is reality. I could want for nothing. Even as there are structures in and as the air that we don't seem to be able to see, so it is that there is substance in form everywhere that we do not appear to see. Here's a little quote from the Bible. For as we have many members in one body, and all members have not the same office, so we, being many, are one body in Christ, and everyone members one of another. What is the Christ body? It is the universal, boundless, immeasurable, inseparable allness. This entirety is never separated into bits and parts of itself, This indivisible substance in and as form is the only living substance, and all substance is alive. It is a conscious substance, for all substance is conscious. It is an intelligent substance, because all substance is mind above all. It is a loving substance, for all substance is love. And I think that's precisely what you have just seen. Let's pull that thread, because that's what you are. Seeing is being, is perceiving. You are only and always living in effect, because cause and effect are one and the same. Life is never divided into separate lives. Consciousness is never separated into consciousnesses. Neither is intelligence presence as separate minds, because there's only one divine, perfect mind, not a mind that needs to get there, but only the mind that is already. And certainly love cannot be present as divided loves. So we have now perceived the true nature of all substance. So often we have said that God, the universal all, is eternal, perfect, living, loving, conscious mind. It is easy to perceive that life, consciousness, love, mind are inseparable. Well, now we can perceive that this indivisible substance is the only substance. And this inseparable substance does eternally exist in and as form, although it is never divided substance. Beloved, when we really see this substance in form, we are actually seeing as this very vision that is the universal all-seeing. We perceive that all substance is light. We also perceive that all substance is omniactive, eternal, and forever perfect. It does not come and go, because it can't. It simply is. And oh, glorious ecstasy. We perceive that we are this ever-perfect, universal substance that is the constant light. It is here, now, and you are it, even as it is all there is of you, all there is of all. Even though it may seem that you are not aware of this, of being this glorious substance, please, if you can, accept the fact that this truth is true. And presently you will experience being the light that is this truth.